Right, welcome everybody. We've got a really useful, practical expert explainer today. I have Kate Shilland and Fran Taylor, who are nutritionists specializing in fueling young people, and they are here to chat about what kind of nutrition or diet may be helpful for your older teens and adult children. Now, they have their mums, they have four children between them, all teens. Kate is a performance nutritionist with over 10 years' experience working with athletes, including teens, helping them achieve national and world championship status. Fran has over 15 years' experience as a public health nutritionist, and she works with schools, sports clubs, and youth organisations, creating education programs to help young people fuel better for health, growth, and performance. She also runs popular cookery workshops. Now, I came across them because between them, they host the really, really useful Instagram account Performance Canteen. Google it, you can see them there. And they also offer a variety of online courses and ebooks, which you can access via their website, which I will put in the links below for you. So before we kick off, as I usually say, this advice is for all of us going through normal, ordinary day-to-day life. This is not advice for those with SEN or special complex needs. So I think the context here is, and I get asked this all the time, 14, 15, 16 onwards, what do they need, our teenagers and older children, in their daily, what would be useful for them to have, and what's going on with them in a developmental kind of way? Do you want, I'll
You can
start.
start.
So 14, 15, 16 is like a key growth window.
Yeah,
Especially teenage boys at that point are going through their key growth window and energy needs. So what they need, your first point is what they need is lots of energy because they are not only going about their day-to-day lives, and if they're involved in sports or music or drama or anything like that, but they're also growing. And, growing and life are two massive energy needs.
yeah.
So what they need is lots of energy. So those, you might think as a parent, and we all think it really is like, oh my God, you can't still be hungry because you've had dinner, you've had a massive snack, and it's bedtime. Like you can't still be hungry. But the reality is they
They
probably
might be. Yeah.
they are. And our mantra is if they say they're hungry, they probably are.
I think that's the biggest thing we see is parents just underestimating quite how much kids need to
Mm.
eat. So exactly that. And when kids are saying, "Oh, I'm starving. There's never any good food in this house," and then we all say, "Well, there was," and then you just ate it all within like
Yeah,
two
yeah.
seconds
It was
of shopping coming
yesterday.
home. But yeah, that whole thing of dinner's in a minute. If you don't eat that, you'll ruin your dinner. Actually, as a parent, we want sort of or to encourage parents to give themselves permission to feed their kids lots. And I think that
Right.
often we get the public health messages that we get are about don't eat this, what to cut out, this is bad. They've got all these late, the advice that we hear isn't really that helpful and it can be confusing for parents. So we're all about actually what to add in. We don't want to encourage parents to cut things out. We want to go, yeah, actually, their kids, their teenagers, they like the crisps, they like the sweets, they like the burgers. That is a part of a normal teenage diet. You're not failing as a parent if they're eating that. You're just parenting a teenager. So it's like we're more about what do we want to add in?
Mm.
Don't go demonize these foods and take them away. We want to make sure we can just add some sort of nutrient
Yeah.
dense foods as part of the whole picture.
And I guess what we're also saying is don't worry so much about it. It becomes a massive issue
Yeah.
at meal times because meal times are pretty special with teenagers anyway. They're useful for lots of things beyond feeding them. So don't
Yeah.
make it a big issue. You did a really nice post, I thought, where you said they need energy from food, but they also need life energy. What do you mean by life energy? Because I think that's really important for us to bear in mind when we're really when we're watching them eat 88 packets of hula hoops.
So that, like Fran was saying before, the life energy is the energy that you need to basically do all the things that your body's got a million jobs that it's doing on a daily basis, and every one of those jobs requires energy, and energy comes from our food. So the life energy is like your heart beating, your lungs to function, your immune system to work, your bones growing, bones developing, your hormones, all the things that go on behind the scenes before you even get up and get out of bed and go to school and have a social
Mm,
life and do exams and all the other things that add extra energy on top. They're the kind of the core fundamental things that need fueling. And we always say like we need to fuel for health and growth and then performance and activity is almost like a separate compartment.
Yeah. So it's a
Um,
like little mindset set switch we could have as parents where we're looking for all energy that we're trying to fuel here, not just so they can do sports, so they can revise better, so they can stay awake longer or get up earlier. What's the difference between girls and boys as they go through puberty in terms of what their nutritional needs may be?
So yeah, so both teenage boys and teenage girls have an increased energy need, but they also have an increased need for certain nutrients. So things like iron, calcium, because they're growing new bone, new tissue, needing more blood, all of those things, their blood volume increases. So they need increased amounts of those nutrients. And, the reality is in the UK, around don't I'm not
50%.
around
50%, so
50%,
49.
yeah, of teenage girls are deficient in iron or have
Really
low
high.
intake of iron.
Right, interesting. Yeah.
And calcium needs are lower in teenage girls, especially. Um, so yeah, so the needs are increased, but
Calcium intakes though.
the intake is generally a
Right.
bit lower.
And sorry.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think particularly because, teenagers are really vulnerable, as are us as parents, to all the nonsense online, which is why it's really great that you're doing things like this. And that's why we set up what we're doing to try and create that safe space of proper, useful information to kind of buffer against some of that nonsense.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that there's so much information about exactly like we were saying before, don't eat this, cut this out. And what it means is a lot of kids are actually cutting out big food groups that they really need to
Yeah.
help their bodies. And you only get one body and you've got to live in it forever. And you only get one chance to grow it and build it. So we want to make sure actually that they understand that and actually understand that you build your body from the food you put into it, which is something that we always think that should be taught from reception.